And we will move with unanimous consent.
Yeah,
Item
red
8.
button. Red button.
Oh, yeah. Love technology. Moving item 8 up to become item 2. Everybody's probably aware, that's here, is that we are saying goodbye to 3 long-term members tonight. And 2 are experiencing an end of term, and the third one is experiencing an end of available time. That's a good way to put it. And I, for one, would like to say thank you for all of your work and your service for all these years, and for being part of the board.
And we really wanted to take just a moment and thank you for your service to the community. I joke sometimes, but I say it in sincerity. This is the hardest working board in the city. And I've said it in public many times. And it takes a dedication to be here. It takes your time away from your family. We appreciate that. You know that. So, but we need a Kodak moment of these guys that have been serving for like 3 terms in a row. And then one was 3 terms in a year. I think one was actually 7 years. Those days. So to show you our appreciation, you come right around in the front. All 3. We're short 1 plaque, but it's.
You got yours on Monday.
I already got mine.
You've got yours
Did
already?
you have something you wanted to say? Our manager actually asked that we do this tonight, so I think he has something he wants to maybe say.
I'll pull it up while they're getting set up. So on Monday at the council meeting, Phil was recognized and he received a similar.
Why don't you get in the middle? You're the taller one.
Did you bring yours, Phil? No.
No, I didn't. I didn't know there was gonna be
You
another
should be in the
photo.
center. because
You're right,
you don't
yeah,
have
because
one.
you don't have one, so you should be in the
Yeah, you should be in the middle.
There you go. I'll get towards the rear.
Both of you,
Hate to ruin the picture.
both of you can.
We should have a dummy plaque so we could hold one.
Right. Okay, look this way, Phil. There we go. 1, 2, 3. I'll take a few. Ready? Okay, very nice.
And thank you.
Yeah, I intended.
Pleasure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pleasure, thank you.
Mr. Marker, you have a prepared mark?
This will take us for the rest of the evening.
625.
6:25? Okay. Denise and I were trying to look back on all the things that these 3 gentlemen have been involved with since their tenure, their time on the board. And going back through all the minutes since 2013, it was quite eye-opening to see everything that you've been involved with. And so I wanted to just take a minute to take you down memory lane and kind of set the bar of expectations for everybody else that's still here in your time. And we made a list of things that you've worked on. Back in 2013, we started the process of creating a new general plan altogether, which now we're in the process of updating. So you've been through a full cycle of one plan and really looking at the old one and now this one. And we noticed that you worked on a nuisance ordinance, you worked on mobile home ordinances, you worked on home occupation regulations. There were several businesses that came to town, Napa Auto Parts more recently, the Hilltop School, the RSU 39 New School project came to you. Let's see, there was an attorney's office on not Sweden Street, but I'm trying to remember the name of that one. Come on, Denise, help me out.
It is Sweden.
Yeah, West Sweden
Was it
Street.
Sweden Street?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's Hunter's.
Hunter.
Yep.
Many code amendments. There was a complete streets discussion. with the previous planner, Tony Mizuko, looking at how do we design the roads in such a way they can accommodate not only vehicles but pedestrians and bikes and so on. Of course, the Title 13 rewrite has been an ongoing process since 2014, and we'll invite you back for the grand unveiling when we actually have that one done. But and of course, a lot of looking at conditional uses, the big ones being recreational marijuana, medical marijuana, and new businesses coming in with that. And so definitely you've been involved with a lot of things in this community which have made it what it is today. And I know that a certificate that's framed doesn't say enough for how much we really appreciate the time that you've spent on this planning board and been involved with looking out for the benefit of Caribou and trying to do, the council sets the budget, which tells us that, what we have to spend to make something work, but really this board helps to maintain the vision. And so definitely appreciate your vision for the community and helping us to implement it to make Caribou a better place in your time on the planning board. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I would add one thing to our viewing public. We know you're out there, that we'll have 3 empty seats on the planning board that need to be filled. It does take a commitment, but it's very fulfilling, and it's a great duty for your community.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Say that.
And if you will excuse me, please, and board member Pelletier, I've got to get to a choir concert tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
He'll be along. We got to keep him for a minute. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marker, appreciate your attending. Let's quickly go through the minutes from November 21, see if there are any changes. I thought I spotted one thing.
I did spot something. Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess editing what I said about the kennel that we were talking about. Where did that go? It said I asked the question, does she have less than 1 litter per year? And she's the one that said she has less than 1 litter per year. And so I had just asked if there was any breeding. And she said less than 1 litter per year. So I just wanted that clarified. Where is it?
That's right there.
Yeah. It says, like, I questioned Miss Lucas if she was breeding less than 1 litter a year. I just asked if she was breeding. I know that's maybe nitpicky, but
I can fix it.
yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah. No, thanks.
You're
So there'll
welcome.
be an amendment on that. You had something, Phil?
Well, I was gonna point out where it was.
Oh,
Yeah. No, and less than 1 litter.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what.
That's a 0.
moving on to the next page, 4B, the last statement. This is referring to the cell tower, or actually it's an internet facility on a cell tower. It says it states here that they said they will not be broadcasting from an extremely high tower. In fact, I believe they are broadcasting from an extremely high tower, which is one of the things that ameliorates any RF hazards, because they are so far off the ground. I would suggest we strike the word not. Anything further?
The only thing I had, I'd mentioned Denise when she had sent this to me originally, was that under planning board terms on the last page, it said 3 members' terms will be expiring December 31st. I just asked that she amended that it'd be Todd's and my terms that were ending. and that Phil was getting done a year early.
Yeah, absolutely right. Suffice it to say, unfortunately, that 3 members are going away. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion that we accept the the November 17th, is it 17th? 21st meetings with amendments.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. All right. Now, at 5:41, we are opening a public hearing on the application from R.H. Foster dealing with a facility which will be known as Freshies on an existing site on Bennett Drive. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, could I add that we did have a question about procedure regarding site design review? And so in my research, I found that in section 13.302, site design review and procedure requirements, under Part B, site design approval, a public hearing may be scheduled if the proposed development poses a potential for significant impacts on municipal facilities or natural resources. Said hearing shall be conducted prior to the final action of the application. Under Part 2, site design notification, paragraph B, the city clerk shall notify the identified property owners of the application at least 14 days before the first workshop meeting and first public meeting. So it suggests that there's 2 meetings, a workshop meeting and a first public meeting, if a public meeting is necessary, where the application will be discussed. The final decision shall not be made on the application for a period of 30 days after the date of the CEO or planning board has determined the application to be complete. So I look further on the actual site design review application. On the first page, it does say under site design review application, City of Caribou, Maine, the review of your application shall consist of at least 2 presentations to the planning board and possibly additional presentations until all required information has been provided. Performance-based bonds may be required prior to approval of this project. The question comes in being that the planning board, on page 3, the planning board shall review applications first as a concept plan. This is where the question comes. We have not been practicing this. We've been kind of taking them directly to approval if the application is complete.
Well, we have been looking at complete plans, but they have been concept plans because we saw them and then scheduled the public hearing. So
Okay.
the first look came before the hearing.
Well, I'm deferring to the board to make that decision, because the question came forward to me, and I'm reporting to you. We have had a presentation.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what we did last month, so.
Right. And they have, and anybody who opposes that has 30 days from the time that we okay it to make an objection to it anyway, so.
Okay.
Was there supposed to be notification prior to the concept
There's a
plan
gray
presentation?
area there
Okay,
when you
yeah.
look at the actual ordinance and what it says on the permit itself, referring to 2 meetings that you would have to do a mailing twice.
Doesn't make sense to me.
No, it hasn't been practiced, at least not recently.
So I guess what I'm confused about is because this structure is being done on their own parcel. I mean, there's nothing, it's not interfering with anybody
It's
else.
already developed.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
not a change of
They're tearing
use.
down an existing building.
It's not a change of use. Where it tricks the site design review is the amount of impervious surface that will be impacted.
Right.
It's going to be reduced.
But it's more than 4,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't mind having a site design review, but I'm not sure where you're going with the rest of your comments.
The question was put to me, should we handle this as a concept plan review tonight and then conduct a public hearing at a later meeting?
I don't think that we need to.
I don't think we.
I would
I-
say
I
that
think
that
if they
last
re-
meeting was the concept,
Right.
and this would be the public hearing.
I think if we were to look at it that way, where they received a mailing, I mean, why are we gonna spend twice the amount of postage in order to notify all the abutting property owners?
Dave.
Everybody was notified, I don't know.
The abutting property owners were notified that there would be a public hearing on the subject tonight.
That's correct.
Well, then, due
And-
process.
And I would also add that what we've done in-house is we've implemented a development review team.
Right.
It's a standing committee. That's been added since I started here, actually. And that review has also taken place, and the notes are actually in your.
Are you looking for a motion that we?
No, I'm looking for the board to come to consensus. I'm deferring to the board.
I think we should.
Does the board have the authority to waive the concept review portion of the process? That's in the ordinance. Do we have the authority to waive that? Or must we follow the process laid out in the ordinance?
You have to follow the ordinance, but if you've already seen this from the previous meeting, that would count as a concept.
Right, that's why I'm saying
Right,
it was brought to us last month as the concept. To me, that's
That's
how
not
Right.
what I look at.
Well,
it.
it was
and maybe
not.
that's how moving forward, those first looks for projects of this size should be articulated, is that it's a concept review. And, you know, maybe we should look at amending the way the ordinance reads with regards to having 2 hearings with 2 mailings.
Yeah, it doesn't say 2 mailings. It suggests 2 meetings.
Right. But it says they need to be, budding property owners need to be notified both times, correct? So you're gonna have 2 mailings, I mean, that would,
Joe, again,
Well,
there was a question procedure. I just
I'm-
wanted to bring
Right.
it forward.
I'm fine with moving that this be the public hearing and the concept meeting occurred last month.
If that's the
Yeah, I thought
consensus
that
of
was-
the board, then
See?
I'm gonna use my prerogative and say that's what happened.
I mean, it's something that needs to be looked at, because if you're gonna drag this out for the person that
3
wants to, yeah, I mean,
That's
This-
precisely why we've done an in-house review now. We realized that some of these reviews were going 60, 90, 120 days out, and that could really hamper people's plans.
I mean, this situation is fine, but I mean, it's because they're not gonna do anything till next spring anyway, but if somebody wanted to build in the next, or do something in the next month or so, we're not on their side. We're not trying to help them, so.
I would suggest that if we're going to do that and consider this site plan tonight as the final plan review, we should amend the minutes of the last meeting to indicate that we did indeed treat that presentation as a concept. Put those words in the minutes so that we can demonstrate that we're following our process.
I'm perfectly happy to have the minutes reflect that that's what we're considering that meeting to have been.
Yes.
But I don't wanna go back and change the minutes to say in the minutes that something happened
Right.
that at the time did not happen. Our minutes from
Right.
tonight can
yeah,
reflect.
our minutes can reflect that
our
tonight.
opinion.
I agree with that.
I
As
agree
long as
with
there's a
Bob.
paper trail there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you read me, I heard, when you first started reading something, I heard the words may.
That's correct.
Let's run that one right by me.
There are some conditions that can be met. The public hearing may be scheduled for any application. The proposed development poses potential or significant impacts to municipal facilities or natural resources.
Does that mean?
In the code, there's a list of qualifiers.
I was just asking, this is the first time I ever heard the words may. Does that mean that if we determine that there's a project that does not have significant new impact on the city, that we may decide not to need a hearing?
You can allow the CEO to,
We can defer to code enforcement.
Okay.
And I know that that's, I mean, not to go off topic, but that's something that we discussed, you know, at multiple meetings, is trying to streamline and speed up the process. And if that's, for lack of a better term, our out, then we don't need to have a public hearing for some of this stuff, and we can defer it right to code enforcement then, you know, after the initial concept. I mean, that would streamline the process that much more.
Well, I'd like to keep that one in mind. I'm almost tempted to say that we don't need this hearing tonight, but we have guests who have come prepared.
But we actually do, because one of the qualifiers was tricked on this one,
Which was the
the amount of impervious surface.
Yep.
Oh, well, see, that's what I was trying to get at. We don't have carte blanche, we may or may not. We have things that trigger, okay.
But if a building is, for instance, another one was, if a new building was gonna be 6,000 square feet or over, that tricks the site
Okay.
design review.
Okay.
So there are
Education never ceases.
like 9 different qualifiers, I believe.
Okay. So, then the hearing has been called to order. We now know that we're having a valid hearing.
So I digress.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Sean Thies with CES Engineers representing Foster's tonight. So we're back reviewing the same plan that we went over with you last month with just some fairly minor changes based on our conversation last month and staff review comments. The changes to the plan include we've added a fence between the property and the Tim Hortons property, as was discussed at the last meeting. Fence starts in the back corner here, comes up the side, and then just there's a short angle here to try and block access, so keep people from driving on, discourage people from driving over the tank farm.
What type of fence, if I may?
It's a chain link fence with vinyl slat material in there. And the reason we went with that was in place of a vinyl stockade fence. It's pretty close to where they'd be plowing snow through the Tim Hortons, and
Yep.
I'm assuming if it was strictly vinyl, it would just get busted up every winter and it'd have to be replaced. So
Are those slats replaceable?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think they are, and
Yeah.
it's almost like a mesh that's woven right into the,
Yep.
so it's not like the hard vinyl that would be broken on a vinyl fence. In addition to that, based on staff review comments, we've added a note in regards to the center island area, that island will include a combination of grass, shrubs, and trees for some plantings along that section. And it's not reflected on this, but I think the 2 other comments that we received for staff review, we provided some stormwater calculations to show that there wasn't increase in runoff from the site. It's actually a decrease from what the existing conditions are based on the lower amount of impervious surface. And there was a comment about the some of the lights on the face of the building. They're sconce lights that project light down and also project light up just to light up the facade of the building. And there was a comment about could we eliminate the uplight on those, and that's not a problem if that's something that that the board wants. It's not a lot of light that shines up. It's more just to sort of enhance the facade of the building. But if there are concerns about light pollution, then we can just cut that off so it's only downlight coming from those lights.
I don't like lighting up the clouds.
Everything else on the plan is the same as it was last month that we went over. I can go into more detail and review it again with you if you want, but I don't want to waste anybody's time either, so I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Still keeping grass to the left of where your tanks are going to be on the side by Tim Hortons, by where you're.
Yeah, so this area here,
Yep.
that would be a green space, whether it's, we haven't specifically identified plantings in any areas, but green space here, and then the entire island
Okay.
here would have green space, and then this little area here would be green space, which is now currently pavement.
Okay.
Can you just draw with your finger? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I just was going to ask the chairman, in the interest of this being technically the first public hearing, should we just do an overview of what the project is, or
That's what
before
were
we
just
start?
talking about.
Yeah.
We treated last meeting as a concept review,
Right.
and this is the final.
But so,
So we discussed
but there was
that.
no public notification
There, was
for-
there,
for that
was it
meeting.
the last one or no?
For the concept.
right?
Well,
For the first meeting, it was on the agenda that we'd be hearing from R.H. Foster, but we did not call it a concert.
Okay.
Right.
And we did not
At
do a
that
public
time.
So
hearing.
I'm just wondering if that,
We did not
if
contact.
because
Is
there
a
was.
public hearing required for a concept plan?
It's a gray area. It doesn't come up and say that.
Right.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Okay.
It references two meetings.
Two meetings, but not two
It
hearings.
references contacting individuals.
So I'm just asking if we should just have a general
It's a gray area.
for the public, because this is the first advertised public hearing for the public, that we just have a general overview of what the project is.
So we have Sean just do an overview.
Yeah,
of the project.
I just think
Just
that
to have
that's
it for the
fair.
minutes,
Yeah,
basically?
just, yes.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, so
not to make it more time consuming, but,
No. So the project is on Bennett Drive, the existing R.H. Foster convenience store gas station. We're going to demo the existing building canopy, remove the existing tanks, and construct new building, bigger footprint. It's approximately, well, just under 5,000 square feet footprint building, with a new canopy centered on the front of that building for the fuel island. We are reducing some of the curb cut area along Bennett Drive to two designated curb cuts on either end, adding some landscaping in the center of that area and extending the sidewalk along Bennett Drive. Yes, so the store itself is, it's essentially mirror image of the Mars Hill store. And this, the exterior will look the same, it's just the interior is mirrored. The entrance on the side entrance is on the opposite side as Mars Hill. We've got parking all along the side here, parking along the edge of the building here, and then again on this side, and then some parking here. We've got the dumpsters in this corner, along with a emergency generator and an underground propane tank. And that's essentially it.
Can you point out again where that fence is? I'm having trouble finding it on my.
Sure. The fence starts right back here by the dumpsters.
Is it on the line or is it on the shaded area?
No, it's about 2 feet inside the property line. So this property line runs right along this edge. The fence is just inside of that. So here's the edge of the parking. The fence runs out here. It's aligned with X's in it, so it comes up to this point,
It's a
and
line
then
with
and then
X's
comes in here.
I'm not seeing it anywhere here. I got it though. You said it's 2 feet inside from the property line.
Correct.
I don't see it on this, but I'll take your word for it.
That may be an old copy, Dan.
And so you can see it here on this
there was one on the new.
bigger plan.
Yeah, it's on page 9 in the packet. It's a little bit tough to see, but you can see where it's at.
That's good, thank you. I just
Those were the
looking for
originals.
the fence.
Sure.
Seems like it was on something that was.
Any board members have any, oh, I have one question. Is there going to be an illuminated sign out near the road?
Yes, so similar to the same location as the existing sign, we'll have a new sign installed at that same spot.
What type of sign will it be? Is it, I guess what we call in our ordinance a changeable sign? Is it gonna have any lighting or anything that might
It'll be,
have
it'll be lit.
digital messages
It'll
or
be
anything?
lit. I don't think it's digital messages. It's the price of the gas is all digital, so that can
Okay.
be but
Yeah.
it doesn't have like a scrolling
Okay,
message board or anything like that on it.
We'll
okay,
have to do a sign permit anyway,
Right,
yeah.
so.
that'll be covered by that.
Can you talk more about your rationale for reducing the entrance and exits to the property? You stated in your application it was to improve traffic flow. I fail to see how that improves
Well-
anything by narrowing the entrance and
So
exit.
the existing conditions are,
It's a free for all.
Wider.
yes, you have this whole area with limited,
It's bad at best right now.
It's what?
It's bad at best right now.
there's no control. There's so many different points where people can just pull into the site
4 points?
and,
It's a more dangerous situation right now.
I see.
yeah, so this closes it off to restrict them to, all right, there's clear areas where you come, enter and exit the site.
Are those both two-way?
Yes, they're both
Okay.
full
And
two-way.
Okay,
Just
so what are the dimensions of that opening?
They're both 42 feet wide.
42? Okay.
It's the maximum allowed by DOT, although I know this isn't, I mean, we spoke with DOT, it's up to the city to make a call on curb cuts here where it's urban compact zone, but if DOT was to review it, that's the maximum that they would allow.
I can see where you're coming from now.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Narrow driveway causes speedsters like myself to slow down.
And then,
Well, it's a more
are
ordered
you
traffic flow.
reconstructing sidewalk in that area?
Yeah,
I
so.
think that's what I
the
got from the
sidewalk-
drawing.
The sidewalk
Yeah.
would be part of the
And to go along
applicant's
with,
responsibility to
to
construct
go
that
along
wall.
with what's there, basically?
Right.
Okay, continuous, okay.
These are old drawings.
I would add that CES has been very responsive to both the planning board comments and as well as the staff's comments. Going down through, one of the concerns we brought forward was about the runoff. And if you note, the calculations actually show a slight reduction in
Yep.
runoff. Well, with the addition of that green space. So we're actually dealing with less runoff water, which is a good thing.
Has there been any fire chief review? City of Caribou?
Both our chiefs, the chief of police
but-
and the fire chief are on our staff.
They're on the
review.
Yeah, okay. So, emergency vehicle circulation is okay?
Very good, actually.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't see any issues with it.
okay.
There's something I noticed in the application that fire suppression sprinklers are not planned. I found that
That's what it said.
confusing.
So there's, so in the building is not large enough where it requires a fire suppression system.
Really?
There is, I believe, a fire suppression system as part of the canopy
Of course.
for the pumps.
Canopy, okay.
But no, I was talking about the inside of the building, a commercial building that size.
Yeah.
You're beyond the standard for requiring sprinklers.
No.
Huh.
I think because it's resident,
good
where it's not,
question.
where it's commercial and it's retail, that, I think that changes that scope of what you're supposed to have with regards to.
I thought all commercial buildings required it. Guess not here.
It's square foot.
That's based on the
In our
square
code, it
footage.
references the 6,000 square feet to be a indicator of
Something new.
a site design review.
What about erosion sedimentation control during the demolition and construction phase with the underground tanks, just preventing things from going on to the other properties? Is there a plan for that?
It would obviously be, yes, we will address that during construction.
Yeah. But
But yeah, I would envision, well, it's actually shown here, so on the back side, we're showing a silt fence all along the back here, all along the edge here.
okay,
Can't really install silt, well, this is the uphill side anyway,
Right.
so it wouldn't be
Yep.
flowing that way.
okay,
But we do have silt fence on all the,
okay.
I would just ask that your updated drawings are provided as part of your submission package, because these things are old.
Yeah, but the ones that are in our packet, I think, are the updated ones.
Well, there,
this
it does
packet-
say R.H. Foster Mars Hill on a couple
So-
of them.
Well, the building
So-
plans, we're not at a point where we have final building plans, which I'm assuming when those are done, we're gonna have to submit those for a building permit. We submitted the building plans as an
That's
example.
fine. I
Okay,
just wanted to make
yeah.
sure that we have on record for the permit, the actual,
Yeah, so the site plan was, we forwarded digital copies, and we didn't get a request for hard copies, but I mean, if there's a certain number of hard copies or Mylars or whatever we need, we can send
did
those as well.
The one full-size set in reduced size, the issue here in the office is
you don't have a
we
place
don't
to
have
keep
storage
it.
space for it anymore.
So you don't ask for it anymore?
Actually, when they call and ask, I don't ask for 3 sets of full-size and reduced copies, so we go for the one full-size and reduced, and especially if I get a PDF that.
As
we
long
can
as you
read.
have a full resolution PDF
Right.
that you can go to,
Yep.
because these are very
It's
hard to.
it's really an issue. If you see my office, you
No,
won't
I
have been in my
totally
office,
understand.
so.
Just full- Yeah, okay.
They build up.
And I can leave this one as well if you need a
That'd be great.
full-size paper copy.
Okay, any further questions?
So, very complete.
I invite public comments, but let the record show that there's no members
Daddy,
of the
do you have any comments?
Me?
Daddy, I'm sorry, I thought you came with
No, I
me.
don't have any comments for the public. Everybody seems to be very excited. They just can't wait for us to get started, which we're gonna wait till the weather permits it. But we're all excited about it, and it's gonna bring more revenue to you guys. Gonna clean up the street down there. That building won't last much longer, so we're gonna get busy. So, do you have any questions for me? The other end of the driveway that's got the mix going and coming so bad, that's where the car wash used to be. So
That's
right.
That's why we've got all those holes in the sidewalk.
That's right.
So we'll clean that all up.
What I asked at the last meeting, there's not gonna be a new car wash.
See, no one came because I told them not to. No, they're all excited about it, but I'm a regular customer of Hortons, so I hope that everybody's gonna be pleased.
Except those few folks that sneak across your parking lot and go to Hortons.
I drove in this morning and I could hardly get in the parking lot.
They'll forgive you.
Oh, I know, yeah.
You,
Any further questions? Then I will close the hearing at 6:08.
Doing a motion to, or what's
We-
next in line?
Next in line is to go down the A through Z items. I will ask the board, is this plan in conformance with the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Change of use.
Is traffic adequately handled?
yes.
Yes.
Is site access adequate?
16, sir.
Yes.
Hold on to 16, sir.
Parking and vehicle circulation has been properly addressed.
Yes.
How about pedestrian circulation?
Yes.
Yes.
Are site conditions adequate for the project?
Yes.
Yes.
Is open space an issue?
Yes. No, excuse me, no.
Does anyone
That's
believe
really
that would be an
NA.
NA?
That's NA.
Yeah.
All right. Sanitary sewage is all taken care of, in my opinion. It's on city sewer. Emergency vehicle access has been reviewed by the staff.
Yes.
Waste disposal, they're gonna have to have their requisite dumpsters. I don't see where that's an issue.
Those are in the plan.
Buffering exists on the McDonald side, and there will be the fence on the Tim Hortons side.
There's
I
a
do
tree.
have a comment on the fence. I'm not a fan of chain link fence, even with the vinyl inserts. And I know we can't force, one way or the other, but I'd much rather see a wooden fence up there. Yeah, I think it would look a lot nicer.
I think,
That's
I understand you're not wanting to look at the chain link fence, but I think with regards from a maintenance and economic standpoint, wood is not feasible. Because wood, you're gonna have more upkeep,
It's not gonna hold up to
Yeah,
that
I-
area there.
It's not gonna hold up with the abutting of the chance of the plow coming through and knocking out 3 or 4 slats, then you've got to worry about replacing that.
I just think it would look nicer, that's all.
They can do
It's
great
up to
things. They
them.
can do
If
great
wanna-
things
If
with
they wanna
That looks-
invest the
chain link
money to
fence.
make it look nicer.
That looks nice though with the vinyl slats. I think it goes along with the character. of
right, because
the-
it breaks it up. So
the character of the
A chain link.
Chain link
The
and
gas
vinyl
station.
coating as well, so
Yeah.
you don't get that galvanized look with the slats. You
right.
can do it all.
They actually
You can do black
used.
vinyl coated with black slats, so
It's
it
just a
looks
statement
more.
of opinion.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out.
Are they keeping the trees on the backside?
For the sake of the review,
Okay.
Yes,
are we okay? on
yes,
buffering? All
most
right.
definitely.
Natural areas, is that an issue even?
Been increased
And
actually.
It's actually been increased.
Yeah, that's fine.
Stormwater management has been addressed.
You missed exterior lighting.
Oh, I already checked it off, excuse me.
Okay.
Because the staff reviewed it. Same with stormwater, erosion and sediment control. The contractor will have a plan in place during construction.
Sounds like it's in,
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like it's
sounds like
already.
it's already taken care of.
Building, singular, is not a problem. Existing landscaping will be improved, in my opinion. Infrastructure,
It's going to be improved.
not yet, not an issue. Advertising features are gonna have the standard sign
It's
out
going to be
by the
more
road.
current than what it is. About what it is.
Right, we've already got it there. Relationship to the site and surrounding property.
I say it's fine because it's already existing.
Again, it's an existing issue.
Commercial use in the commercial zone.
Scenic vistas in areas I suggest is not applicable. Utilities is okay. Minerals, not applicable. General requirements, I think, are okay. Phosphorus export is not applicable. Any conditions that the board would like us to consider?
I don't have any.
Wooden fence? No.
All right, now that we have satisfied A through Z, I guess I can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve as proposed for the On the Run project on 117 Bennett Drive.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any further comments?
Great improvement for the city.
Definitely.
No conditions. All in favor? Unanimous. Let's put our John Hancocks on this one copy, gentlemen.
And ladies?
And ladies, I'm sorry.
No, she can't. I'm in
Thanks
the
for
way.
coming out on the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll leave this right here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
I'll
you.
get you pizza just as soon as I get open.
Have a donut on the way out.
I'll bring pizza next
Well,
time.
well, call me, because I'm not gonna be here.
I haven't been
What's-
here
Have to
since we
stop
built
by
the
the
old one.
office.
What's the bus
How many
gonna
years
do
ago that was?
during construction? What's Sue Bustling gonna do?
As fast as we can.
During construction, yeah, so we'll have to, have an alternate pickup
Yeah.
spot during construction, but we did, think there is room accommodated for them for after construction.
Yeah,
It's built.
yeah. I think we discussed that last month. So. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thanks.
Thank
thank you
you,
guys
Mom.
very much. We
Thank
can do
you.
anything for you guys anytime, Holland.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very,
Will
very
do.
much.
I thought you retired, Billy.
I did 19 years ago. And I'm still working. I can't give it up. I really love to work, so. Have a good evening, you guys.
You too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave this with you guys. You can pull the page out, or the pages out for your records.
Mr. Chair,
No.
Yes.
with that, I am
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd, very much.
Thanks for all you've done. Grab a donut.
no.
Charlie Hatch's dog. She's where I work with him. That's right. That's right. I don't know. I don't know. No.
He was city manager here for 25 years.
Thank you. Yes. let's
Oh
do
yeah,
a
thank you so much
handshake.
for your service.
See you. We'll see you around the store.
We'll see you at the store.
Yeah, I'll see you in the morning.
Well, bugging.
Bye.
Okay, new business 4A, we've done that.
Okay.
else with that?
Okay, really, I just wanted to put the planning board on notice that our work is not done yet on the comprehensive plan. Of course, last month, we thought that, yes, we wanted to finish it in December. No, we're about 70% done.
All right.
A lot of the work, a lot of the remaining work will be in the proposed land use section. And to highlight that, I put our official zoning map on the table, and also the proposed one that we've got on the table. It's an old proposed one at that, doesn't really match the work we've done in chapter 13. So we need to gather all this information up together in some fashion and represent that in this comprehensive plan update. So with my conversations with the manager, we'd like to take one step even further than that, in that, you know, as we change our land use plan in our zoning maps, we're addressing districts, neighborhoods, but we're really at the point where we ought to go property to property, building to building, and assess exactly what those land uses are. We're making good strides, I think, in addressing those interface areas between commercial and residential. So the idea of a multi-use. But if you look in the text that I included from our original comprehensive plan for 2014, there's a special projects district. So I'm willing to bet that most of that text will probably change. And this isn't Ken's book report, this is the comprehensive plan, is the auspice of the planning board to do this work. So I'm gonna sign you up, we're gonna do some work, and hopefully in the first part of the year, complete at least the comprehensive plan update, and then move forward with the chapter 13 changes as we suggest in the comprehensive plan. That's more words than I had worked up originally.
So what's included here is these
That's
edits?
existing.
That's existing.
From the 2014 comprehensive plan.
Okay.
What I put in yellow is all the existing text that I thought might be subject to change.
All right.
That's good. So we will charge the board to be fully familiar with this for our meeting in January, which, by the way, will be, and I'll bring this up now because I don't want to forget, it will be January, let's get to January 9th, second Thursday.
Well,
Keep in mind that the first order of business will be the election of officers. If you've got something that you covet that you'd like to do, make sure you get your 2 cents in. And hopefully we'll have some new members by then.
We are continually advertising for new members for multiple boards.
Did you guys see the letter I wrote after the
Yes,
last
thank
meeting?
you for doing that.
That was fun.
We'll have something in the newspaper as well.
Okay.
So this 2018 map, the big map,
Yeah, I wrote it tonight after the last
that
meeting.
is, that goes with the existing,
You had to do
What's on our
it because the
website
first
for-
copy I took here was-
and that's consistent with what's in the comprehensive plan now. It is.
Page last week.
So this I-2,
Right, the
That
I-2
includes the
that we
airport.
decided that we didn't need an I-2 anymore, so as we continually work on chapter 13, this has evolved. We've never ratified the changes.
so we're not gonna find everything on this map in the comprehensive plan.
Oh, no, a lot of the work on this map was done after that plan was written.
The majority of the work on that map was done after the
Gotcha.
comprehensive plan was written.
But you kinda have to start from this and not from the comprehensive
Right.
plan. Okay, that's,
Yeah.
that's what I was asking earlier.
Yeah.
So for instance, the RC2 district in the,
It doesn't
Route
even
1,
exist anymore.
We're
in
changing
concept
it.
is a multi-use district now.
Well, my point is, it's not, I don't see an RC2 on this 2018 map at all. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, you do.
There it is.
Yeah, it's
Never mind.
on the,
I wasn't looking in the right place.
It's on the overall township.
RC2. Okay.
Basically,
All right, there, no, good.
the old South Main Street.
Gives us something
Right.
to look at.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do, what are the first steps in,
Well,
you say you're gonna put us to work, and I'm glad to do
right,
that.
so there's gonna be a lot of work on the staff side. In my conversation with the manager, he wants to mount a full land use study. So, like I said, property. What we should do is work on the comprehensive plan and say, these are our goals. So this new work will appear as goals and suggestions, and then, work throughout the season to meet those goals.
So should we be thinking about this map, the zoning map, and the uses all over again? Because we've been through one round of that already.
Right, and really,
More than one round.
we've
He's
done,
lucky he's only been through one.
they've done years and years of work to the actual chapter 13. And I think that should be, also, that work should be reflected in the comprehensive plan update. But again, the goal will go up there that work continues on chapter 13, because it's ever evolving.
And I think we said at one point during our numerous attempts to grasp chapter 13 and do a rewrite on it, that it's a living document, so it's always going to be evolving anyway. So, I mean, we try to do a lot of it all in one fatal swoop, and
Whether it's by state statute or you know, a changing of you know, pattern of land use downtown, it could change forever.
But when you say it's a living document, it is a document that needs to be approved by the council.
Right. Well, at some point.
Correct.
Changes have not been.
some of the changes we have made have been approved, but the majority of what we've done with chapter 13 since I've been on the board has not been adopted by the council.
So maybe that should be a first step. Let's drive those changes, and so we have a good, clean baseline to work from. Otherwise, we're just grabbing at nothingness.
I agree with you.
So it's a good place to start, January 9th.
Yep.
Has the council seen the chapter? I thought months ago we sent that over to them for consideration.
I believe we sent it up, and Dennis saw things that he wanted to amend, or the way that we had things in there conflicted with the multiple versions of what had been done from the time I started on the board.
But the document wasn't as clean as we thought it
So
was.
did
Right.
has he done any more work on that to bring that into alignment with his
He was gonna bring those
expectations?
pieces to us a bit at a time, and started to during the season, and other priorities took over, so
Okay.
he's still to present those to us.
State budget was one of them.
So we're kind of at the point where all these changes that you guys have worked on haven't been implemented, so we
Correct.
need to
They're still being reviewed.
stamp it and
Right.
and move
Changes
forward
that
from there.
We've all worked on, are
Yeah.
still being reviewed, and those findings will come back to us.
Yeah, okay.
Along with that, whatever homework we have to do with the back of this packet in terms of reviewing, we also owe it to ourselves and to the Citizens Advisory Board for Residential and Urban Renewal. We owe it to them and to ourselves to read this, come back next month.
So,
having
so
read it.
this is new, and I think it goes very well with our update for the comprehensive plan. I think this is gonna be a hot ticket button for the mayor, for the council in general. There are issues with urban renewal. There are issues with blight. But every community is unique, and so it is with Caribou that we don't have entire districts that are blighted like Detroit or Lewiston.
It's spotty.
What we have is areas of blight in a neighborhood or pockets of blight in the rural areas. So we need to, going back to the manager's suggestion, we need to go back and find out, lot by lot, building by building, ascertain where the problems are, how severe they are.
The presentation that was made to the council on Monday night, I happened to watch the council meeting, was very good. They've done a lot of work, and I think they said they identified, or they have a list. Am I correct, Ken? They said they had a list that
I believe so.
This board,
this committee.
the committee gave a presentation?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that. That's recorded and available, right?
Yep, it's online.
And some of the other research that is not present in the summary
Yes.
is also
Go
very
to the city's
interesting.
website.
Oh.
You can watch it.
To make that available, it's just voluminous.
Okay,
That's all I had to say about comprehensive plans. for
Thank
this
you.
evening.
I don't think we need to rehash the old business section. I think we've already done that.
No, Ms. Lucas, I haven't been able to get a hold of to see if she actually wants to still do a business.
I thought we left it that she didn't need to do it.
She didn't need to. I wanted to follow up with her whether she wants to. And my attempts to get a hold of her have met with a full voicemail on her cell phone.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to ask was, did she pay a fee for a hearing? Okay, because if so, it probably should have been returned to her.
She-
So,
I
because we didn't make a,
I think
She came to the board with a meeting that required a public notice, so we gave it to her.
I don't
No,
think
it didn't require
we didn't
public
have a
notice, it was
public,
concept.
we didn't have a public hearing.
Right, it was conceptual.
So, I didn't think that what we
Yeah,
did was
I
a
think
public hearing.
Things are tough in that household. I wouldn't.
But it was a use, it was a
But I think we
home
ended
business use thing, right?
There was a question in my
Use
mind.
permit.
I thought we left it that she didn't know whether she was gonna be running a business or just keeping 12 dogs.
Right,
And she's just keeping 12 dogs. She's an R3. She doesn't need
right. She
I
doesn't
think
need
we
anything from us.
decided that
paper one from us.
it wasn't our jurisdiction,
Right,
really.
it was,
Yeah.
it was up to code enforcement is what we determined.
Because she said she wasn't, no longer interested in grooming.
Right, she's like, I've been here X amount of months, I haven't had any interest with regards to grooming, and given where her proximity is, land-wise, there's two groomers within 4 or 5 miles of where she's at as well, so.
So I just thought if she had paid a fee
If
or
she ever
something,
comes
that
back.
it should
Yeah.
be returned, should have
I'll
been
continue to
returned.
try to reach out to her
Yeah.
just to.
But just to clarify,
button
the handing it to you was only for the keeping of the dogs. If she wants to do a grooming or a boarding business, then she needs to come back and ask for that.
It's one of the things I
Yeah,
want to
no.
follow up on because
I
she-
believe
she's
the grooming is
currently
gonna-
licensing all those dogs individually.
Right,
Well, if she took out a kennel license instead, she could have 6 on one license.
right. But I think with regards to the grooming aspect of it, Dan, she's in an R3, that's code enforcement, so it wouldn't come back
Be a
before us
home
anyway.
occupation or something for.
The kennel is?
No,
or-
no, the grooming aspect of
Grooming
it.
business?
Yeah, that's code enforcement, that's
CEO anyway?
right.
What bumped it to us then? The kennel?
It was the kennel aspect of it, I think initially is what triggered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But where she's not a breeding kennel for sale, she's just looking to kennel her
Nor
own
is she a
dogs.
boarding kennel.
Right,
That we know of.
right.
And the building permit for United States Cellular, I signed on behalf of the board, and they're off and running.
Okay.
Okay.
We actually mentioned blight demolition update. I would also add that 25 Liberty Street is now an empty lot.
Well,
The
there.
building was dropped yesterday.
I was gonna say, it
and
must have been
almost
yesterday.
today.
Very good.
Because it was still there Saturday night.
So we're going to continue our effort, winding down the year and try to get an estimate for 66 York Street. A building in similar shape, although we don't seem to have any squatter problems over there. But the asbestos has been abated. The building is ready to be taken down. We'll at least get a price on that. And we're going to continue it into next season by bringing forth a work schedule, and hopefully Public Works will help us with that. So what's killing us on these demolition projects is, one, when we take a property, taxation or whatever, it becomes a public building. And so by law, by statute, we have to have an asbestos inspector come in. That costs us several $100s. If you have an asbestos inspector come in, well, guess what? Their job is to find asbestos, and that's what they're gonna do.
They're the
So then
same
you're
ones
gonna
who
have
do the
abatement.
mitigation, right?
So abatement's gonna cost you a few $1,000s,
Yeah.
and then to have a contractor come in and knock it down, it's not so bad, but the trucking cost kills us.
Right.
So
Just pay by the
we're
ton.
gonna do an experiment with Dave Willett Salt and Public Works. Maybe we can do it for a fraction of the cost with our own equipment.
Good.
So slated would be on I wanna say it's Gold Frank, but it's not Gold Frank, it's back in there, the yellow house. You remember the name of that
Fenderson?
street, Bill?
It's corner of Elm. Yeah, Elm and Fenderson.
Fenderson
Yeah.
Street.
Corner Elm and
So,
Fenderson.
a house on Fenderson Street, there's 2 houses on Patton Street that are standing out of habit, you need to go. There's a house on Washburn Street that's partially burned out, and that needs to go.
Oh, yeah, that, I saw that the other day.
So we'll try out Public Works and see what we can do at the beginning of the season before they get real busy with road stuff.
Have you taken a look at this condition of the barn on Lower Main Street? Just up the road from the roof up?
Yes,
Outside.
we have a notice of violation out to the Dross family
Yes.
on both of his properties.
Or is it Frost? It's Frost.
Dross.
I think it's Dross. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So one property is on the West Prescott Road, directly across from the Northern Maine Development Commission. He's always got a pile of junk there.
Yep.
He collects junk, it's a way of life with him. We've asked him to clean up before, and he hauled it all down to the other property where the old Norris Brown, I remember it as the old Norris Brown farm. So both those barns are now collapsed. When we sent the notice of violation, he indicated that he was gonna be with Carl Soderberg and have those taken down as soon as Carl wasn't busy. So oddly enough, I got the same story from Mitchell and Mitchell Trucking. Yes, we're gonna have Carl Soderberg, I don't know if they're dropping names or what the story is, but, so we've got action over to Mitchell and Mitchell as well regarding their property. We reached out to the Haley Farm on the East Prescott Road, also has 2 barns that are caving in. And the one farm family that did act on the notice of violation this spring was the Blackstones, and they had a potato storage right on the Fort Fairfield Road that had caved in, and they cleaned it up immediately. So, some people are listening.
Is there a place on Midland too? That looks, if you were to
That
come in,
one's caved in,
if you, as I say, if you were to come in off of North Street and come around,
So
it's
that's
like
the
the second
Wilcox
place on the
family.
left.
They no longer live around here, but the daughter who was left the land swears that she's gonna have that cleaned up. So I've contacted her 3 times now, said, look, really, this house is dangerous now, it's almost on the ground, it's falling down, it's right full of junk, old tires, boxes of personal items, garbage now because they're ruined. She indicated that she was gonna have that cleaned up. She wants to retain the property, it was her grandfather's, he left it to her. So we're at the point that, yeah, okay, you're gonna be fined. Well, it becomes a civil issue, you go to court. Good luck collecting, they don't even.
Right. So,
And there's one on County View. The Belinsky house caved in last winter.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's right there on what
Another
Clover
absentee.
and Home Farm.
Whole farm.
Yep.
Another absentee landowner, they live in California. The irony of it was that we contacted them in regards to taxes owed. We were gonna tax part of the property. They came at the 11th hour, paid their taxes, went home to California, and the next month the building caved in due to all the snow we had. So I follow up with further notices, and they come back unopened. So finding Mrs. Belinsky, Greta, I think, is in a home somewhere. Tried to send a notice to her, it came back unopened. Tried to reach out to Stephen Jr. I got a reply. I got a return receipt from our mailing. But nothing further.
So when you I'll use a house on Prospect as a prime example. When you put a sticker on the door, what leverage does that give you
Only
for
the
for enforcement?
Only the family's supposed to be in that building,
Okay.
and they can choose to live
However,
like that. A lot of people coming and going. So you address the owner, and he says, you can't stop me from having company over every now and then. So again, you know,
But where does that leave
how
you?
much stomach do we have to take him to court?
Well, like, yeah, from a legal aspect, you know, and not, I was just using that property as an example because you told me that you'd stickered the door there. But, you know, there's the other ones in town that if you know somebody's living there and there's a sticker on the door, and there's, I mean,
So, for instance, where there's a property on Limestone Street,
yep,
and this was interesting because the owner actually called from Colorado. Said, I want you to stick to that house. I want it condemned. I don't want anyone in here. So he went down and looked, and the house is in bad shape. Sure enough, stick at the door. We find out that she wants her man to continue working on the property. He's cleaning things up. He's working on the property. Well, now he's actually living in the property. He's actually got other people living with him on the property. There's truancy issues with people living in the property. The city has tax acquired it. So the first week of January, they've already been given a notice they shouldn't be there by the PD, by the way.
yep. Well,
We'll have to evict them.
and that's where I was going with that. At what point does
That'll be trust passing.
right? But at what point, if you sticker a building as condemned with no occupancy, and then you know that people are staying there, at what point does law enforcement get involved in order to effect that there's nobody supposed to be staying there and levy charges?
Our first responsibility is to the actual landowner, so I have to talk to Mr. Barretto, or I have to talk.
Or whoever, yeah.
So if they have an issue with people being there, that becomes a policing issue. That's trespass. But for us, it becomes, again, okay, yeah, we're gonna levy a fine. It's gonna be $100 a day until you fix this issue, up to a certain amount, and see you in court. My first attempt at that was actually a permitting issue, not, and the guy never showed, went to court, he never showed. So, again, we're dealing with blight, we're dealing with these issues. If the council's got stomach enough for us to take it to court and go the distance, that's what we'll have to do in some cases. Do we
Well,
want to
and
stick
if
it out
you
in
do-
civil court? Do we want to deal with Pine Tree Legal on every one of these things?
Have they weighed in on that question yet?
Some have.
And the answer
By
is.
Limestone Street, called Pine Tree Legal.
No, I mean, has the council weighed in on whether they've got the commitment to our
We have,
our ordinance here?
but that's
to
a conversation
enforce
we're
them?
gonna have because of this.
Well, and what drove some of my conversation with regards to this was based on the presentation, and of course, I mean, my other job, that I know where there's places that have been stickered. I know where there's places that there's not supposed to be anybody living. At what point does the city and the police department come together and just start, you know, I know the city doesn't want to be in the business of kicking people out of their homes, whatever, but there comes a time and a place where we as a community are going to suffer more, and we need to take those
That
actions.
position where enforcement is, but you're gonna have to do enforcement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
plus,
and I
if we
mean,
don't, then we're just inviting more and more.
Right.
delinquency.
so I mean,
So there's, it's like an onion, keep peeling back, right?
of course,
So there's issues with the way that we're disposing of tax acquired property. So these
Mhm.
properties come to us, and we immediately sell them again,
Right.
back out there. They come back to us in 3 years' time,
Mhm.
tax
Staff
acquired
report.
again, in worse shape, even worse shape than the last time. And someone throws a renter in there, and it gets worse. And we're at the point where we finally acquire it and tear it down, it costs us money. So rather than do that, well, let's stop the cycle.
Mhm.
Okay, that's acquire the building, evaluate it. Is there value in this building?
right, that's one of the things that they had said Monday night.
maybe there's a way to do a project-oriented housing here, affordable housing, get a qualified family in there. There's different ways you can attach it, but the cities, in most cities are like this. They don't want to be in real estate. They don't want to deal with those properties. In Florida, they go to a holding company, they auction stuff off. The city holds no property ever.
Right.
But here in Caribou, I think that we're gonna need to be in a position, and my recommendation would be that we should hold properties long enough to evaluate them
And then move.
and move them back to taxation as we can.
Okay.
That's ultimately the goal.
Great.
So that's-
Subject for 2 weeks before
Yeah.
Christmas.
No.
Right, that's pretty weighty stuff.
Thank you.
Bird's Eye Demolition, the same contractor that just moved to 25 Liberty Street for us, will be back over there, knock down that one last wall. We're gonna cake up the Black Lagoon ooze with ash that's on site and with busted up concrete blocks in masonry. For follow-up projects, we're gonna deal with the rest of the concrete on the site below ground, and the slabs are there. That project probably won't go forward, or actually wasn't forwarded. The grant we're going for, they want to see shovel-ready projects. They want to know when they clean up that property that someone's going to come in and
That you already got something happening, yeah.
and we have nothing above the concept level for that area. We've got some good concepts: affordable housing, retail, public building, maybe a public safety building. But we've got no shovel-ready projects. So that's where that is. Small community grant update. I'm trying to close that down. Every time I think I'm close, they come up with another form. They actually came up with a form that I thought for sure was done, and they needed another signature from the co-owner of the property. We straightened that one out. Now they're looking for a form that was actually a checklist from the LPI, the local plumbing inspector. So typically, our local plumbing inspector does his notes on the 200 form. It's WWE 200, and so that's the site evaluation design form. And he checks it off and says, septic tank, check. Pipes and ground, check. Whatever. But we didn't fill out their checklist form. So I will see the LPI tomorrow at a meeting, and I'll make sure he fills that out and get that back. At that point, they will reimburse us for 100% on this project, so that the owner will be out no money at all. As a matter of fact, the permit cost will be reimbursed to that owner, and we'll get a little bit north of $400 for the administration of the project. So
Okay.
it's been an interesting experience. Out of 6 projects, we had 3 that were accepted. Of those 3, one of the owners said, too much government oversight, I'm out of here, pulled out. The other owner said, look, I can't get a loan for my portion right now, so he withdrew as well. So the one project that we went through was 100%, 100% project. So hopefully that'll be closed out for the beginning of the year. In the public service CDBG update, we were accepted and approved. We're waiting on the payment book to come forward so that we can actually expend some of those monies to do our transportation project with Cary. Reach out to the last mile, get people where they need to go.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. That's
I notice there's more activity at Troy's development on Glen Street,
yep.
but I noticed that it's not as initially that they brought back before us with the design with regards to the townhouses.
Oh, they
It
went
appears that it's going to be the duplex aspect of it
They
again.
reverted back to
they
the
reverted
original
back.
plan.
Okay.
And he came to us with a condo agreement.
Okay, for that aspect of it?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd missed that meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that, because in the minutes it didn't note whether,
Everything's copacetic.
Okay.
I've
perfect.
been by over there. I know Tony Mitchell has been by over there. Troy generally runs a pretty good project.
Yeah, oh yeah. So is he going to end up with 4 units total?
4 buildings.
4 buildings
8
total, 8 units,
Yes.
but
Total.
perfect.
Yeah. And other new communications, I'll relate, this is kind of another irony thing going on, is we have a situation where we've had other small businesses move to town. It's a great thing, it's a good thing. Unfortunately, when they move to town, they're not getting the information from the realtors or the other contractors that they may need as a use permit, or they might need a sign permit. So we're greeting these new businesses with notices of violation because they didn't get the required permits. So I'm reaching out to contractors, our sign contractors, our realtors, and saying, this is a service for your customers. You can actually save them money by suggesting you might need a permit and you might need to look into that. So I contacted the sign people this week. I'm going to contact all the realtors and suggest the same thing.
I think that's good.
Try to be a little bit proactive.
Yeah, it's easier to be proactive,
And
even
you
from a
don't
sales
wanna
standpoint.
treat a brand new business to town, their first month, with a notice of violation.
Yep.
That's rough.
I've noticed that kind of driving around. I saw a sign in somebody's front door and it says open, and I said, what's that? And wondering if, I'm not going to say specifically, but how do you find out about these?
I've got business with them.
You know, do neighbors call and ask?
Big sign up.
Generally speaking, the assessors find them.
Okay.
They're out in the field doing their appraisal work.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, that building never existed, or that sign was never there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
by
one
old
I took
building
some
that-
heat for was
It
County
sits out in the field
Ag.
by itself, and it's slowly, just before that, there's a house they've
Moved
been
to
doing a lot
town,
of construction
great
work
business,
on.
nice people, put a
And
new
they've built
sign
a
up.
driveway down to the lower level.
And again, the
They
assessors
hadn't
wrote
got
it
And
in.
there's a sign.
Oh,
that
the
says-
yellow one.
No, that's,
County
that's,
business?
Ag and Turf, it's right across from
no, that's, Grayson.
Convention Center.
From-
Everyone, yeah, they
The
took
guy
over
bought
that
our
property,
Caesar's business.
car dealership.
Good business, great place for it.
Oh.
You know, the
Probably doing
other,
massages as well, but he's a chiropractor. On the left-hand side.
you
just
know,
as
the
you come
other,
down.
Yeah, I
the other
can see
side
the
of the
chiropractor
coin
work.
is anybody
Yeah.
in business
Okay.
is gonna know
Yep.
that they have permitting issues and use permit issues. So,
But
I'm a
someone-
little sympathetic, but not really sympathetic.
Someone sold them a sign, though.
I know,
That guy that
but,
sold them a sign knows there should
Knows
have been a
there's a
permit.
I know, but the business owner himself,
I agree.
herself,
Because
should know that, or they have no business being in business. There's some personal responsibility.
ignorance is no excuse for the law.
Well,
You know,
it's a
or
personal
statutes as right
responsibility
there.
thing.
You know what you're getting
You take
into.
the initiative to do the research and figure out what you need to do business in this.
Mhm.
That's,
But you like to be the friendly code enforcement
you
guy.
do.
You can.
The friendly neighborhood code
And,
enforcement guy.
and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a time when, yeah, it's okay to kind of coach them along, but there's other times where, you know, and I realize a lot of it stems from how much support you have from, you know, the council as well, as far as
Well-
enforcement and how far they're willing to go and pursue
And
things.
that'll come to a head because I think a lot of this blight stuff, the
Yeah,
conversations
and
we
that's-
need to have, it'll be apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, folks, make sure you read this before next month.
Okay.
From the way it was presented on Monday night, and from what I've read of it just before we started tonight, it's going to be a good read. So
Good.
So they actually ended, that committee ended at the presentation of the report.
So,
However, the mayor dropped in my office and said, that doesn't mean I'm gonna call him back and have a standing committee on there.
maybe some of them want to be on the planning board.
That's a good source. That's an excellent idea.
There's a couple of them I'd love to have.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to wish everybody a great holiday, Christmas, New Year's, and whatever else you celebrate. And this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you all, happy
Thank you.
holidays.